someone connected to the White House, talking about Katie Miller, who is married to Stephen Miller, the Homeland Security advisor, is threatening to deport Cenk. Now, I don't like the Young Turks. They're very anti-Black. I don't like the Young Turks. I don't like Cenk. I don't like this whole kumbaya. We need to talk to the other side stuff. And mind you, I have no problem with talking to the other side. But the kind of people that Cenk want to talk to are the same people saying on this platform they want to deport him, even though he's a legal citizen here in this country. Y'all, let's go ahead and get into this. Please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's get going. Right, without further ado, let's start the video.
Go ahead.
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the...
Just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back and go, you have to make it about Jewish Americans. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Is Israel a Jewish state? Yes or no?
Yeah. First of all, okay, so Saudi Arabia is a Muslim state, and you can criticize it all day long, all day long. There's no special protection.
Because what you're doing is you're decoding language.
Now, in this first part, you're going to see her lose it and go off and talk about how, you know, we need to fight against bigotry and racism. But then she turns it around at the end and uses it against Cenk, right? But I want to say this. There's still this argument over if you criticize Israel, you're criticizing Jewish people. And I don't believe in that. You're talking about a government who happens to have a Jewish state. However, you're talking about the government. Benjamin Netanyahu, I can see him as the person that he is versus talking about a whole religion. And so people try to conflate that and make everything anti-Semitic, and it's not. And you'll see this is what she's doing in the beginning of this argument.
Calls themselves a Jewish state or a Muslim state.
We should not be here and we should not be in existence, and that you would be happy for other people like Mamdani to use it.
I want Israel to be safe.
Nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. You're totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying. That's not true. We want Israel to be a safe haven for Jews, 1967 borders. But you guys say, no, more Palestinian land. Take Gaza, take the West Bank, take southern Lebanon. Your greed knows no bounds. And by the way, you and your husband are supposed to be working for America, not for Israel. I think you're betraying this country.
All right, Cenk, let Katie...
Piers,
right,
if I could just jump in here on a quick note.
Yeah, Omar, I'll come to you, but let Katie finish her point, then I'll come to you. Katie.
No, Piers, quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your children into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not
hang on.
speaking.
Casey, to be clear,
mind you, this was the same woman on CNN with Jake Tapper who was all like talking about Corinne Jean-Pierre and was all like, she always mentions that she's an LGBTQ Black woman. Why is she always saying that? She can't be prideful of who she is, stating that, hey, somebody like me would never be in this position, you know, as the White House press secretary. I would never be in this position, but I'm proud of who I am. And despite all the odds, I made it to this position. Like, Katie is being obtuse on purpose because she's actually the racist.
He inserted a line that says the Miller's lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers. Where are you?
What?
Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Katie,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your shit.
Listen.
Fire him, cancel him, cancel him, America. Oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
Can we try and get
this country instead of Israel?
Can we try? All right, can we please? All right, let's stop the ad hominem attacks. Let's try and get this back to a more civilized debate, which is actually about the likely incoming mayor of New York. Katie, I was giving you the chance to respond. If you want me to do it for you, I'm happy to do that. But normally in a panel discussion, if someone makes...
You know, Piers,
I agree,
again,
and you shouldn't be interrupted. So, Katie, let me just ask you, separate, let's not get into ad hominem stuff. It's honestly, I think the viewers are sick of it. Let me just ask you, Katie, what is your fundamental opposition to Mamdani? Because my view of Mamdani is he's very charismatic. He's a skillful politician. He has reined back on some of the more inflammatory things. He undeniably said, the stuff he said about the NYPD would be for some people disqualifying, frankly, in a city like New York. But he's managed to come through that by reining back on some of that stuff. And he is, as Cenk Ugyur rightly points out, he has a remarkable popularity with young Jewish New Yorkers. I mean, it is remarkable that for someone who people have branded anti-Semitic, a lot of Jewish New Yorkers simply don't agree. They want to vote for him. So he is what he is. I also think, as Gillian pointed out, that probably a more obvious stick to beat him with politically are his views, which are pretty socialist. And what is fascinating about this politically, looking at the totality and potentially a future general election, is if you have a progressive socialist like Mamdani who wins in New York, is that the way the Democratic Party is now going to go? And does that have any chance of winning against what would likely be another MAGA candidate in 2028? So these are big picture issues that will come out of a Mamdani victory. But from your perspective, Katie, what is your fundamental opposition to Mamdani becoming New York mayor?
I want to start off with, do you agree when your guest says that the Millers always lie? Because that's what your guest on your show just said, is that the Millers always lie. And so now...
Because she doesn't want to debate his policies. She doesn't want to talk about Mamdani and his ideals. She wants to talk about, oh, he's a Muslim and da-da-da-da-da. Like, she wants to talk about, even though she's claiming that everybody's doing identity politics, she wants to talk about his identity. She can't articulate herself.
Continue into saying Mamdani, just as you said here, is a socialist. He is someone who is going to drive New York to the bottom. I'm excited for him to win because he'll prove to every other single large city in our country that what you will see is failure, what you will see is high crime, what you will see is murders, what you will see is a prominent city in our country fall into complete disrepair, and you will see large amounts of capital and tax dollars exit the city immediately, because what people are voting for is their own downfall. When you play into identity politics, as he's done, when you stand behind a podium and your first comment is, oh my God.
But weren't you just saying they're attacking Jewish people? But you're worried. Come on now. She's full of shit.
Gosh, my aunt on the train, instead of talking about all those who lost their lives on 9/11, then you're doing something wrong, Piers. But I will sit here and say, that for the reasons in which he is wrong and which he will drive New York into failure is again the same reason why people on your show, instead of arguing the merits, as you say, of his opinions, they're going to sit here and use attacks on my husband and myself instead of debating us on our values and our opinions. It is gross, it is racist, and it is bigoted. And I will not join your show again if your values
suck. That's what I'm.
I was just thinking, has she never seen Piers Morgan's show? Piers Morgan literally has the Jerry Springer of YouTube. That's what it is. It's a whole bunch of rabid animals yelling and screaming at each other. That's what his show is based on. Because anybody who actually has common sense, he don't have them back on the show. I.e., he does not have Amazing Lucas back on the show, because remember, Amazing Lucas had obliterated the whole panel. They haven't had him back on the show. That's for a reason, because he's way too articulate for these people. They have clowns like this on the panel because they love to fight and yell and scream. Cenk, he might make a few good points, but it's mostly like, and it's all like, dude, just talk normal. You ain't got to do all that screaming and yelling. Shut your ass up. I'm just being honest, y'all. I'm just being, y'all like me because of my realness, right?
Debating.
This is so ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, Katie, let me just make it clear.
If I can jump here, Piers.
No, Cenk, stay out of this. Katie, let me just respond to that. Katie, normally, when someone makes an ad hominem attack on another panelist, that panelist is on the receiving end, gives it back, right? And you've chosen instead, it seems to me, to want me to do that for you. I don't mind doing that, right? But to me, you could easily respond. You're perfectly skilled and capable enough to respond to what Cenk said about you, and you've done that. And you've argued, very passionately why Mamdani would be a New York mayor. I'm not taking sides here. I actually don't like any of the ad hominem attacks that come on the show. But it's interesting to note that there have been an increasing number.
Piers, shut your ass up. That's your whole show. Like, what are you talking about?
Number of very ad hominem attacks on Mamdani, and a lot of it has had a whiff of genuine Islamophobia. And I don't think it means that any of us have to endorse that or anything to actually accept that that is what's been happening. And I see the same thing happen with Jewish candidates in American politics. I see a stench of anti-Semitism from certain quarters towards Jewish candidates. But we certainly see this with Mamdani, and it's ugly, and it's horrible, and it shouldn't be. Yeah, you are a guest on my show, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I like you coming on the show.
And I'm saying the two other guests on your show are welcome to participate in these anti-Semitic attacks that is so permeating on CNN and MSNBC.
This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here. Somebody criticizing you personally is not an anti-Semitic attack. If somebody says that you are lying, that is not an attack on Jews. That is an attack on you. And just stop hiding behind identity. This is all the snowflake behavior that the right is supposedly criticizing the left for, that you're simply repeating here. Yes, Stephen Miller is a destructive force in American society. That is not an attack on Jews. That is no reference to his identity. This is an attack on him individually, and just deal with the merits of this case. And also when it comes to Mamdani and all the stuff that he said,
let's go there.
Whatever you want to call him, you have to be clear about the fact.
I'll bring up the Israeli state, right? That's how we got here in the first place. Let's rewind.
Mamdani, and we should be clear about what Mamdani said in relation to policing in New York and Israel.
How we got here was Jillian very perfectly pointed out that we should not use politics to get here. And immediately we went to the state of Israel.
No, I'm sorry. The state of Israel is not identity politics. That is a foreign government that is engaged in genocide and war crimes. And we're allowed to criticize that without you pulling identity politics into this. It is utterly unrelated.
Right.
And Mamdani, by the way, he was not asked about 9/11 and just randomly decided to drag his aunt into this. He's talking about Islamophobia specifically in a context in which he is under relentless Islamophobic attacks, including by Andrew Cuomo. And in that context, he brought up the story of his aunt and the fear that she felt living.
Right. And I talked about that in a previous show. That's why I didn't mention that when she was talking about the aunt. Like, they were trying to make it seem like something that it wasn't. You know how they do. They're on autopilot and they automatically are like, oh, well, he's defending the Muslims and 9/11. Conflating the two, because when you say Muslims and 9/11, automatically people think terrorists, and this is what they want to blanket Mamdani. Now, attacking Mamdani for his policies and not supporting Kamala Harris like he should have. Now, you can definitely, you know I was going to throw that in there. Come on now. You can attack him on that. But as far as him being Muslim, I think that's disgusting, attacking him on that idea, the whole ideology and all that. I don't like that.
In New York City, that is a legitimate part of the conversation. And you pretending that this was comments about him having disregard for the real victims of 9/11 who actually died on that day is such dishonest smearing against him. And I'll say, all the references that Mamdani has made in reference to policing and the IDF is simply pointing out factually that there is collaboration there.
I go to New York a lot. I love New York. And there's no doubt to me that what he has said on the record, Mamdani, about the NYPD is deeply offensive to a lot of New Yorkers. And there's no getting away from that. You know, him saying that about the NYPD, we have to make it clear, when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. That is a really insensitive thing to say.
That is a reference to the fact an actual program where New York City police go to Israel on the dime of the ADL or in collaboration with programs through the ADL so they can train with the Israeli police and the Israeli military. An apartheid repressive state should not be training American police. And yes, some of those brutal tactics do come back to the United States and impact Americans. So simply pointing a factual statement about the fact that there is a problematic program there of collaboration, I think is fair. I think pointing out, frankly,
I like Omar. Does he have his own program? I would definitely watch him.
It seems like a statement that should not even be in dispute or question. I don't know what the controversy is. Statistics in America show consistently that brown people and black people are stopped by police more frequently. So saying that there's a racism problem, that's not an indictment of policing altogether. Just that's simply pointing out that there are problems that need to be fixed. You're never going to address these problems if you're afraid to mention them.
Omar, he's not saying that there is some racism. He said the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. What we need is to hashtag defund the NYPD. Those are his words in June 2020. Now, he may want to have a revisionist view of his own words. He may have reined back on some of those words, but those words exist in a post he made on social media.
So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to the part where she talks about deporting Cenk, but I want to say this. I think, you know, a lot of people were all like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, and they said stuff, you know, about defunding the police and stuff like that, and now they're walking those things back. My sentiment, I've never walked that back, and the reason being is because defund the police was basically saying, like, reimagining how we do policing in this country. Defunding is because you're moving the resources to different places. That's what it's about. Just like they defund schools, but nobody goes crazy over defunding schools, except the actual parents who it affects. But, you know, they're always pulling money out of school. Why is it always education you take money away from? Interesting. All right, let me go ahead and skip ahead to the 45-minute mark. Here we go, you guys. And please hit that like button and subscribe.
A third party is not a response to this.
Well, like I say, you may not like the scale of response.
They murdered children because one of their SS soldiers was killed. And it wasn't even by Hamas. Are you kidding me, Piers? So they're occupying 53% of Gaza right now. So shouldn't they get the hell out of Gaza? So one of their SS soldiers gets killed, and we're supposed to shed a tear for the occupiers? In reality, they murdered 46 children. They murdered 46 children today, Piers. I can't stand the terrorism of Israel.
Yeah, but you know what, Cenk? When you call the IDF SS
look at her face,
and you compare them directly to the Nazis, and you know they're Jewish, I'm not Jewish, and I find that horrible.
So no. Israel does. Hold on, let me explain. So Israel does not get a pass on committing another genocide because Jewish people suffered the Holocaust. What happened in the Holocaust was disgusting.
You don't get a pass for calling them the SS.
Hold on. So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting. That doesn't mean that Israel, pretending to represent Jews across the world, gets to commit another genocide.
I don't think you heard that.
And I find that horrible.
No. Israel does. Hold on. Let me explain. So Israel does not get a pass on committing another genocide because Jewish people suffered the Holocaust. What happened in the Holocaust was disgusting.
You don't get a pass for calling them the SS.
Hold on. So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting. That doesn't mean that Israel pretends.
There you go. You'll end up just like Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman, who's legally a citizen, by the way, and she's a representative. So they're threatening to deport people who have their citizenship here in this country. And y'all think it's a game. And mind you, these are the same people that Cenk talk about, oh, we need to talk to the other side. Let me know something, because I want to make sure y'all got to this point in the video. Put a 2028 in the chat if you have friends who are Republican or maybe Democrats, or you have friends on the other side that you talk to all the time. I think we all do. We have no problems talking to those friends, but it's racist. It's the bigots. It's people who literally don't want to have a conversation about the policies and just want to tear down people who are considered others. Mind you, Katie looks like a whole other, because I had to look at what she is, because she don't look all the way Caucasian to me. So I guess she's Eastern European, she's Jewish, she's Italian, and so that's why she looked like she looked. But, you know, I was all like, well, you better check your papers because you don't look so lily white yourself. But hey, whatever. But knowing that her husband is the advisor of Homeland Security, that is scary. Having someone threaten you like that. That is wild. It's not right. It's not right. And Cenk's so hyper-focused on getting his point across, he's not even realizing what she said. Because I would have stopped mid-sentence and lit her ass up. But of course, that's just me.
To represent Jews across the world gets to commit another genocide upon a totally innocent people and collective punishment and murder of children over and over again and go, I get to do it. I get to do a genocide. You don't get to do a genocide. There is no jail-free card.
You know what I get to do? All right, Cenk. What I get to do is invite every member of the panel to speak fairly and openly. And my question was directed to Katie. I mean, Katie, look, from my point of view,
you asked me about
when anyone,
and they're committing genocide.
Please let Katie speak.
60% of the kids they killed have sniper shots to the head or chest.
They're
legal terrorists.
Let Katie Miller speak. Cenk, let Katie speak. Katie.
I will just say this, Piers, this is my last time on this program. If you're going to invite open anti-Semitics to participate on your platform and not call it out for what it is, which is anti-Semitism.
I literally just called it out. I just called it out.
My point is you're inviting him back, giving him the air.
What more do you want me to do?
Spew his hatred toward people like myself, toward people like my children, toward people like my family, and again, not debate the merits of the argument.
No one said your family. What kind of lunatic are you?
In the last segment with Rep. Randy Fine, what you said was he had said the word Muslim. He never once said the word Muslim. You immediately turn it to identity politics, which are more than identity politics.
He did say the word.
She's using the same identity politics that she's accusing them of. Ain't that some shit, y'all?
Muslim. He did say Muslim. He did. I heard him. He did say it.
What you're doing by comparing the SS and the IDF is once again saying that the Israeli state, you're coding it for just saying Jews. You're saying that October 7th and what happened afterwards was not a warranted response. Let's not forget that there were suicide bombers that came from Gaza near daily into Israel.
Cenk, let her finish her point.
Let's not forget who held Israeli hostages. Was that all Hamas? No, that was also Gazan civilians. Why can't they find and return all of the bodies of the hostages? Why? We saw on video yesterday from an IDF drone that a body was recovered
and then Israel was genociding Gaza, and you can't keep track of what's going on in Gaza when it's under relentless bombardment from the north to the south.
Right. And also, who's to say that all those bombs that Israel was dropping weren't on the hostages? Hello? Exactly. Y'all, let me go ahead and end this, but I just found it so interesting that the wife of Stephen Miller is talking about deporting legal citizens of the United States. And that was glossed over. You see it right here. It was glossed over like nothing happened. Yeah. But let me know what you guys think in the chat. Please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate every single one of y'all for checking out my videos and really supporting me in my new journey of talking about politics and trying to educate the people out there. I love y'all. Be safe. We out. Deuces. Love one another.